If DNA is the architect of the prison, then perhaps what we are witnessing is not just a system, but an entire philosophy of existence playing itself out. Some ideas take this even further. Ephilism, for example, a term meaning life, spelled backwards, pushes this logic to its absolute limit. It suggests that the problem is not just human suffering, but sentient life itself, because all sentient beings are products of the same underlying process, a self-replicating code driven to continue no matter the cost. From this perspective, DNA is not a miracle, but something closer to a failed experiment, a system that creates consciousness only to expose it to hunger, fear, pain, and eventual death. And this isn't limited to human life. Out in nature, the scale of suffering becomes almost unimaginable. For every human being, there are tens of thousands of wild animals, and beyond that, countless fish, insects, unseen lives. Most of them exist briefly, often dying soon after birth through starvation, exposure, or predation. A cycle where life feeds on life again and again. And then there's the idea of a final solution, a thought experiment sometimes called the red button, a single action that would end all sentient life, instantly and painlessly. No more suffering, no more fear, no more need. A silent universe, but a peaceful one. This way of thinking often connects to something called negative utilitarianism, the idea that reducing suffering is more important than increasing pleasure. Because while pain is clearly bad, the absence of pleasure is not a loss if there is no one to feel deprived. So, a lifeless world contains no tragedy, only the absence of harm. From there, the logic becomes almost unavoidable. If suffering is the problem and life guarantees suffering, then ending the system begins to look like a form of compassion. But then another layer appears, a distinction, the idea that not all forms of life are equal. Early life, simple, non-sentient, just chemistry, repeating itself, no nervous system, no awareness, no pain. In that state, there is no prisoner, because there is no one to feel imprisoned, no hunger as suffering, only chemical reactions, no fear, only cessation. And so, the shift from simplicity to sentience becomes the turning point, the moment where existence begins to feel like something, and therefore begins to hurt. From this angle, complexity itself starts to look unnecessary, not required by the universe, not demanded by anything external, but driven internally by the same replicating force, a loop. DNA survives by creating more complex systems. Complex systems create more opportunities for DNA to persist. And so, the cycle continues, a structure where the outcome is always more of itself. Now, there are those who believe that instead of ending the system, it could be rewritten, that suffering could be removed while life continues. This idea appears in what's called the hedonic imperative, the proposal that pain itself could be edited out of existence through genetic engineering, through neurological redesign, replacing suffering with gradients of well-being. So instead of hunger, there is gentle motivation. Instead of fear, there is awareness without distress. Instead of pain, only varying degrees of comfort. Even the natural world could be altered, predation removed, instincts rewritten, ecosystems redesigned, a biosphere that functions without cruelty. But then a final question emerges. If the prison becomes comfortable, if the bars are no longer painful but lined with pleasure, is it still a prison, or has it simply become a place no one wants to leave? Because from another perspective, even a painless system is still a system, still driven, still repeating, still carrying forward the same code. And so, the question remains, is the goal to escape the cycle entirely, to return to a silent, simple state, or to transform the experience so that the cycle no longer feels like suffering? Somewhere between those possibilities lies a deeper uncertainty, not just about life, but about what it means to be free.